Sandman Stories presents 4 stories from the Simla Village Tales recounted by Alice Elizabeth Dracott. These stories come from the small villages of Simla in the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh in the western Himalayas. The 4 stories today are: Number 1, the cause of the lawsuit between the owl and the kite, where the kite learns that if you lie, it should at least be credible. In story number 2, called A Monkey Objects to Criticism, a bird learns to keep its mouth shut about others' pain. In story number 3, The Dead Man's Ring, a husband learns that there is more than one reason why your wife might wander off in the middle of the night to start chewing on the hand of a dead man. And in story number 4, The Origin of Death, a man learns that when someone calls you, you don't answer with "Who?" Okay, let's begin. The cause of a lawsuit between the owl and the kite. The owl and the kite once went to law on these grounds. The owl said that she was the oldest creature in the world, and that when the world was first made, she alone existed. The kite objected. He said that he flew in the air and lived in the trees. To prove which was right, they went to law, and the owl pleaded that, since there were no trees at the beginning of the world, the kite was wrong in saying that he had lived in the trees. The judge therefore decided in favor of the owl. Story number 2. A Monkey Objects to Criticism. A monkey once sat on a tree, shivering with cold, as rain was falling, and a little bird sat in its nest on the same tree. And as it sat, it looked at the monkey and wondered why a creature with hands and feet like a man should shiver in the cold, while a small bird rested in comfort. At last, it expressed its thoughts to the monkey, who replied, "I have not strength to build myself a house, but I have strength to destroy yours." And with that, he pulled to pieces the poor little bird's nest and turned it out with its young. Story number 3, The Dead Man's Ring. A young married woman one night listened to the jackals cry and heard them say, "Near the river lies a dead man. Go and look on his finger, and you will find a ring worth 9 lakhs of rupees." She therefore rose and went to the riverside, not knowing that her husband secretly followed in her footsteps. Arriving there, she found the dead man, but the ring was difficult to remove, so she drew it off with her teeth. Her husband, who did not know she had understood and acted upon the cry of the jackals, was horrified and thought she was eating the flesh of the dead man. So he returned home, and when the morning came, took his wife to her mother and said, "I have brought back your daughter and refuse to live with her any longer, lest I come to some evil end." He gave no reason for having thus said, and returned to his home. In the evening, his wife sat sorrowfully in the garden of her father's house, and the crows came to roost in the peepul trees. And as they came, they said, "In this place are buried 4 boxes containing hidden treasure. Dig and find it, O my daughter." The young girl called her parents and told them the message of the crows. At first they laughed, but after a while, they dug as she directed and found treasure which enriched the whole family. The girl then explained the story of the dead man's ring, and her husband gladly forgave her and received her back. And finally, story number 4, The Origin of Death. When God first made the world, he took 2 handfuls of ashes and placed them in a corner and hid himself. These became a man and a woman. God then called the man by name, saying, "Manu." And the man replied, "Who?" instead of "Haji," yes, life, respectfully, as he should have done. For this reason, everlasting life denied him, and where he stood, there were his ashes when he died. Even to this day, if a man should scratch himself, a line of white ash, of which he was made, is seen. If any man addresses another as G, it is accounted to his good. The end. And this week I'd like to shout out my listeners in Western Australia. You are 5% of the total listenership in Australia. Also a podcaster shout out to the Bunny Trails podcast. Dan and Shauna, two self-professed word nerds, come together to give you the lowdown on your favorite turn of phrase, including the earliest sighting and other related phrases. It's always a fun time to listen to them. It's one of the podcasts I've listened to for several years, and I highly recommend them, and I love their tagline, "Words belong to their users." So go check them out. Thank you for listening, and good night.